Let's get into some dating news here on One of My Podcasting. I'm going to talk about dating in 2021. Two subjects we're going to talk about right here. Oh boy, this just the new names that come out for things. Oh boy. All right, let's go and get to this here. Here we go. So the first thing is, have you ever heard of the phrase fluid bonding? I don't think I've heard of it either, but we're going to talk about that. Inside Hook has a story about it. Exchanging bodily fluids with another person is not a decision to be made lightning. Fluid bonding is more than just sex without a condom, according to this story. So here's the concept. If you're a sexually active person, chances are you've even done it at the same point in your life. When you did, you ever referred to it as sex without a condom, or we call it command or a bareback. So fluid bonding happens when partners consciously decide to have sex without condoms or dental dams and exchange bodily fluids. According to Tiomi Morgan, a certified sexologist and in-house expert for sex toy company Sweet Vibes. Depending on the people and sex acts involved, those fluids might include semen, saliva, vaginal fluids, anal secretions, and blood. If you're eating, I'm sorry that you're hearing this. Essentially, fluid bonding is just a term for sex without the use of barriers, one that acknowledges the real seriousness of the act. While foregoing a condom is often a choice that many people make lightly, drunkenly, or simply as their default approach to sex, it's a serious decision that can carry a variety of mental, physical, and emotional consequences, ranging from increased intimacy to the creation of literal human life. Now, in this, and with the days of COVID, you'd think people would still have this kind of thing going on, but here we go. We all know we should be using condoms, right? And we also know how easy it is to justify ditching a condom, especially with the widespread availability of long-acting birth control. But it still leaves barrier-free sex partners vulnerable to STIs, but having sex without a condom also involves many other factors that are often left out of the greater sexual health discourse. So the concept of fluid bonding reframes the narrative, highlighting the seriousness of sex sans condoms and the many ways it affects a person's life and relationships, in addition to their health. I think people just have so much of a problem just to try to get somebody they can go and have sex with. Like, how many more barriers and obstacles in these articles do we need to have? I mean, listen, I know we're very hypersensitive in the society right now. Of course, we have division and things like that. I don't know. I'm trying to get my head wrapped around. This is why people don't go out on date. I mean, I've been watching TikTok videos now. I don't know if it was just what I'm getting in my FYP, but there's a lot of people talking about dating. And a lot of single girls, beautiful girls that are on really shooting their shots, asking, hey, do you want to go out with me or whatever? Or the guy is doing the same thing. Or at least there's a lot of people that are willing to go ahead and give their opinion on what they're doing in terms of, what you should do to get a guy or get a girl. Or girls saying, here's what I love that when a guy flirts like this is what gets me turned on. Like, there's all these kind of videos like that. And obviously, it's easy content. And obviously, we're going to go ahead and catch on to it if you're single. But there's a lot of single people out there. Let's really realize that. There's more than ever. Marriage doesn't feel like a viable option. Some people will say, don't get married, right? I mean, if you're a fan of me, like I was back in the day of Tom Likas, don't ever get married. That's what he said. It doesn't benefit the man. Yeah. But that's another point, right? I'm not going to get into Likas 101 here, for those of you that know what that is. I'm not going to get into that, okay? But, again, just to get to this point and have to worry about this, like, once you finally get to this level, if you're having sex with somebody, I guess the other thing you got to think about, too, is that if you're going to go and just be promiscuous and you're going to have a one-nighter with somebody, then, yeah, you better go ahead and protect. But if it is somebody that you're with and you've been with for a while and you're sexually active with, you got to think about the fact of, do you constantly want to have condoms? And then also, this is where also, there's nothing that's out there that tries to go ahead and deal with contraception. Which is kind of interesting that we don't, I think the other thing too is that the fact that we've gone so far in our society and the innovation and technology can be done, and we've never gotten to something that would absolutely be contraceptive if somebody wants to have sex that doesn't have to be a condom wrapped around the guy's dick. Anybody ever thought about that? Like, honestly, if the guys never had to they would have something they could go and use to basically sterilize any possibility of them having any of the semen get into a woman's vagina and possibly procreate, I think a guy would actually probably be interested in that. But nobody's come up with that yet. That's amazing. Because you know what they always try to do? The medical companies are always trying to build things for women for contraception. They would rather work on birth control than trying to work on control when the actual sex act happens. So this is what they're talking about here. And again, it's important of having condoms when you're having sex. But again, that's also because of the fact that it's more of the sexually transmitted diseases that could be as a part of this. So one of the biggest distinctions that sets fluid bonding apart from the way we talk about barrier-free sex is the emphasis that fluid bonding with a partner is an active, conscious choice. The sign of the four barriers during sex obviously puts both partners at increased risk of pregnancy and STIs. Fluid bonding may not always coincide with a monogamy agreement. It does or should carry some sort of agreed upon approach to STI prevention. Well, nobody's probably thinking about that if you're getting to this point. This is not a conversation that happens right before sex, especially if it's a guy, because they probably want to do whatever they can to go and get in and hook up with a girl and just get it done. Get the deal done. That's what they want to do. Well, in the meantime, if you're dating out there, another story coming out from the Tinder aisle, Verge reports that Tinder will soon let you run a background check on a potential date. Only a last name and phone number needed. Guys, watch out. If you think you've been trying to get away with stuff now, well, I can't say anything about it because I got banned on Tinders. I mean, you know, if you even got through and you didn't do anything to get yourself banned, now you're going to get background checked. I don't think it's so much for the women getting background checked by the men. I think it is usually going to be the women that are going to want to do that. So Tinder and other match group owned apps are going to let their users run background checks on possible dates. They have now the match group invested in Garbo, a nonprofit that looks to allow people to run background checks with only their first name and phone number or full name. The investment, which the amount was never disclosed, will help make the group's tech available to match users, starting with the company's most popular app, Tinder. So Tinder users will be able to vet their dates with details like their arrest record or history of violence. I'm not saying anything wrong with this. It's actually pretty good. But again, it's kind of interesting that your privacy is now going to be compromised because only with the smallest amount of information can somebody go ahead and do a background check on you. This is not even for a job. This is for a date. And the kind of level of things are going along with that. Very interesting about that. Garbo says, quote, it collects public records and reports of violence or abuse, including arrests, convictions, restraining orders, harassment, and other violent crimes. And the website says it accepts manually submitted police reports, orders of protection, restraining orders, and other legal documents to report abuse, harassment, or other crimes. So if you've never done anything wrong, guys, then know that you're going to be subjected to a background check, most likely for most of these women on Tinder. So the background checks won't be free. Match is working with Garbo to figure out the price so it's most accessible to most users. It's unclear whether this will be an a la carte feature or one tied to the brand's subscription tiers. Now here's the question. Do you want to go out with a guy or girl that decides to run a background check on you? Will you feel offended by getting background checked? That's a pretty good question. And I think, you know, it might kind of irk the fact that, you know, if a woman doesn't have any trust, I mean, I understand the trust issue is one thing, but, you know, the fact that we can't even just say, okay, if you're going to meet somewhere, meet in a public place, and, you know, a lot of people are around. Well, now we can't even do that anymore. Now we have to have a background check. It's sad that we're at the state of affairs now. That's what the story's about. So Garbo's tool isn't live yet. And there's no word about the accuracy of what this is, but this could upend how anonymous people feel on a dating app, particularly on Tinder, which has consistently de-emphasized personal details like a last name and full bio on profiles. Match won't share its users' data with Garbo, but users can run a background check so long as they get their date's last name or phone number, which they would likely share anyway if they plan on moving forward with dating. So guys, that's the other thing now. Do you want to give up? Now, you might give a phone number, but you know how some people do. I mean, I can tell you when I'm done dating. Some people don't give out their phone numbers. Listen, I give a secondary number before I give out my real number. I use Google Voice. Meanwhile, others might use Text Now, or they might use, I forget some of the other ones that are out there. But they would use a separate service to get on there and talk to somebody. And that's just what some people will do. So keep that in mind. This is where dating right now in 2021. Post-COVID, we're worrying about, are you vaccinated? We're worrying about fluid bonding. And now we're going to get background checked. That's where we are. It's a sad state of affairs. By the way, match group brands are Tinder, OkCupid, Hinge, and Match. So you might be affected by all those. Keep an eye and, watch yourself. Keep your nose clean. That's what you got to do. And whatever else clean. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to talk to you next time.